Hey guys, welcome to my new video. This is third video on most asked DevOps questions. In this video, I'm going to explain the important question, especially on Terraform. So before starting, I'm expecting that you are already knowing the basics, at least basics of Terraform. So let's move towards the first question of our video. So in this video, the first question is like write a script to create multiple instances in Terraform. So the question is like interviewer may ask like how can you create multiple instances with a single piece of code? So I have given here two methods to explain that. So one of them is count and second one is like for each. So I have not kept other blocks like for creating an instance in a AWS cloud, we need other blocks like VPC, subnet, security group, and all. So the here main focus is on how we can create multiple instances. So first method is like count. So using count, we can create multiple instances with a single block of code. So here you can see, like I wanted to create two instances with a resource AWS instance example block. So I have given only the important parameters like AMI, instance type, and name, which is under tag. So you can give other parameters like key, user data based on your requirement. So what this block will do is like it is going to create two instances with given AMI, which is coming from variable, instant type that is also coming from variable, so that you can give based on your requirement, and the name will be created like example instance count dot index plus one, which is like if count is 2, then 0 plus 1. So first instance name will be like example instance hyphen 1, and second instance name will be like example hyphen instance 2. So this is the first method. So I have not shown the example of this one because there are a lot of content on this. So you can Google it, or you can find a video and you can practice more. So that will give you the more confidence. So the more you practice, the more confidence you will get. So here the focus is especially on the question, what kind of questions interviewer asks, and these answers you will get in YouTube or Google. You can go, you can refer them and you can practice them, and you can after that you can easily answer those questions in interview. So now coming to the second method. So the second method is like by using for each. So for that one, I'm using one variable block. So in variable, I'm using map of object where I have specified instance type and AMI. So here also I'm going to create two instances. So the first one is like T2 micro, and for second also instance type is T2 micro, and AMI is already given. So here uh, two instances are there, like instance 1 and instance 2. So this block what it will do, so for each means in this variable it will go and it will first create instance for instance 1, and second time it will create instance for instance type 2. So by using this for each block, we can create multiple instances with a single block of code. So you can uh, refer this topic count and for each, and you can practice and you can understand this more. So this was about the creating instance multiple instances. Now moving to the second question. The second question is about how we can handle exception in Terraform. Exception means like, let's say I have given one value. Uh, if somebody is giving some value, then based on that, it should do something. And if that value is not there, then based on that, it should do something else. So that we can call it as like exception handling here. So the first example given is like is to create a resource. So in description, it is given like set to true to create the resource, false to skip. It means that if the user have given true in this variable, then it is going to create the resource. And if user have given the false, then it is going to skip that resource. It is not going to create any resource. So here what I'm doing based on the given input, I'm creating AWS S3 bucket. So if you see count where create underscore resource question mark 1 ratio 0. So 1 means true, 0 means false. So if you are given true, then it is going to create this S3 bucket, and after that the second block will execute, which will print that resource provisioned. It means that resource got created. And if user again false, then even both blocks are going to get skipped, and it will not create any resource. So this is first example. And one more example I have given. So in second example, I have taken a local block to handle exception. So here also one variable is defined. So the name of the variable is throw exception. So if it is set to false, then it is going to give no exception occurred. And if you will set it to true, then it is going to give exception occurred. So that is getting handled in the local block. If you see result equal to var.throw exception, so it will check if it is false. If it is false, then it is going to give you no exception occurred, this part. And if you will change it to true, then it is going to give exception occurred. So this is how we handle the exception in the local block as well. So there are this handling exception you are going to use in like almost all the resources, because when you are working in a company, you will use the resources for the multiple purpose. So in that case, we are going to handle the exception. So this was about this. Now the third question is like how, I mean, interviewer, this is like one of the most asked question in the interview. So this, based on this question, the interviewer is going to judge you whether you have worked on the Terraform or not. So they are going to ask you like how many resources you have to spin up, or you have created in whichever cloud you are working, like AWS or GCP or Azure or IBM cloud. So the best way to answer this question is like three-tier architecture, because keeping all the resources in our mind is like very difficult. At that time, it might come in your mind or it might not come in your mind. So or keeping this three architecture diagram in your mind is like a little bit easy, because based on this diagram you can start from start to end, like and in that most of the use services will come and you can explain the interviewer nicely. So following this diagram, the first thing is like VPC. So using Terraform, we are going to create first VPC, and inside that we are going to create three subnets. First one will be like public subnet, second one is private, and third is private. So first one is like presentation layer, second one is like logical layer, and third one is database layer. So in presentation layer, you can tell like you have created servers, you have created public route table, you have created security groups, you have created zones and NAT gateway, and you can even add load balancer here, which is not given. So, and when comes to the second layer, that is logical layer. So here also we have created servers, and on that we have kept all our logical code and all, which will handle the request which will come from the presentation layer. So in that case also we need a private routing table or security group and subnet and everything like which is required for the presentation layer, for the logical layer. So you can explore more on this. And third layer is like database layer, where the database resides. So based on request, it will calculate, it will get calculated in the logical layer, like what response has to be sent, and it will taken from the database and it will be sent to the user. So this is how like three architecture works. So you can see that resources are into different zones for like US East 1A and US East 1B. This is how you can explain like what all resources you have worked on in Terraform. And along with this, you can add like you have created S3 bucket, you have created CloudWatch to observe the resources and performance of the resources, and Cloud bucket to store the state file or other things to be stored in S3 bucket. And along with that, you can also add like you have use AWS Lambda service. So yeah, this is how you can explain the interview, like what all resources you have spent up using Terraform. So this was about this question. Now moving on to the next question. So next question is like how are you how you have secured your Terraform, like while using Terraform, what are the security measures you have taken or what we should take. So in that, first is like use version control. So you can tell your interviewer that you have stored your code in the Git, so which will help in like controlling the versions. And let's say in production, let's say if your one version is already released, which is going nicely, and in the second release when you released it, some issue came. So this will help you to come back to the previous version, and that will avoid breaking user experience. So that's how you can use the version control. After that, access control. So limit the access to Terraform configuration and state file. Use a strong access control system like AWS IAM, Azure, RBAC, or GCP IAM. It means that we should give limited access to the people, like the guy who knows well and who can handle well. You can give access based on that his experience or what he knows, because he can handle nicely. If somebody is new, then you can give limited access so that he cannot by mistake he cannot do big alter or changes in the code. So that is about that. Now the third point is like secret management. So this is like one of the important things, because we cannot hard code the API key or password directly in the code, because this code will be kept in the Git or maybe in public repo where everyone will be access and will be having access, and they can see your API keys and password. So for that we can use secret management tools like uh, key management service of AWS or Vault. So these kind of services we can use. The fourth one is like backend configuration. So the most important thing of the Terraform is like state file. So we should handle a state file with care, because by mistake if we delete that state file, then it's very difficult to recover the resources which is already running. So in that case, you can keep that state file in the S3 bucket or somewhere in the safe place, and you can give limited access to the person so that no one will destroy and or no one will make any alter intentionally. And along with that, AWS S3 bucket gives you versioning system, so you can keep the state file based on the version. So by mistake, if you lose one, then you can recover it from the previous version. And the fifth point is like sensitive data in the variable. So avoid using hard-coded values in the variable file. Use separate sensitive data in the separate secured location or in separate file, so that no one can read those data. After that, use data source. So this is like, let's say we have one VPC which is already running in the AWS Cloud Console, and you wanted to spend some resources in that. So in that case, what we can do, we can go to that cloud and we can take ID of that VPC and you can start creating resource inside that. So that is not a correct approach. So for that, we have data block. So using data block, you can give some information or some name of the VPC or ID, and based on that, you can fetch data from there in the data block, and from that data block, you can pass the information to the other resources based on the requirement. So that is the correct approach. And next to that is like use provider credential carefully. So even while using provider like AWS Azure, we need to provide some credentials. So at that time also we have to be cautious before providing the sensitive data in that. And the eighth point is like security group and firewall. So we should never allow like all everything to everyone should not have access to the resources. Like we cannot allow 0.0.0.0 slash one slash zero to any of the resources, because anyone can access that. So what we have to do in our firewalls and in the security group, we have to give the only required access. Like we need to provide open only the required ports which is required for that. We cannot allow all the port on the security group of firewall, because if you're allowing that, then it can be hacked or it can be altered. So avoid doing that. So this is how like we can secure our Terraform infrastructure. And there are many different points so that you can explore, and you can add if you have something good in that, and you can comment what else we can do to secure our Terraform. So coming to the next question is like difference between Terraform and CloudFormation. So this is also one of the most asked question, because nowadays like people will be working on the AWS interview, have worked on the AWS, then he can ask like what is CloudFormation, what is difference between Terraform and AWS CloudFormation, because both does the same thing, but the ways are different. So coming to the difference, so the first one is language and syntax. So Terraform uses its own declarative language for defining the infrastructure. The language is called the HasConf configuration language, HCL, and is relatively easy to read and write, because things are well structured, well documented, and everything is in the readable format. Whereas if you go to the AWS CloudFormation, it uses JSON or YAML template defined infrastructure. While it's not a complex language, but it's difficult to read, because compared to our Terraform language, that is a bit difficult to read. And now like second one is like vendor agnostic versus AWS centric. So for Terraform, you can use in all the providers like AWS, Azure, Google, but CloudFormation is like AWS centric. We use CloudFormation only for AWS. So this is also one difference. And state management. So as Terraform is like especially made for this one, and it is having a very big community and well-structured documentation and well-structured coded. So it has a better way to manage the state file or whichever resources are provisioned. So it has a state file which keep the state of the infrastructure. But whereas in the CloudFormation, state of the stacks within the AWS itself, making it easy to manage the state without needing external storage. This can be both an advantage and a limitation depending on the use case. After that, we have updates and drift detection. So Terraform provides a plan stage, which will allow you to review changes before applying them. It also has built-in drift detection to identify any dependencies between the desired and the actual infrastructure. So let's say we have already created the infrastructure and you went to the UI and manually you change something, then Terraform has capability to read that and find what all changes have got done. So this is one benefit from Terraform. And whereas if you see the AWS CloudFormation, CloudFormation has update policies to control however resources are updated, but it might not provide some level of granularity and control as Terraform. So it has, but it has a little bit lesser than that. Ecosystem and community. So coming to this, Terraform has large and active community with many pre-built modules and plugging variables on the Terraform registry. This makes it easier to reuse and share the infrastructure code. And whereas in AWS Cloud has its own ecosystem of AWS specific resources and template available in the AWS Management Console and AWS CloudFormation. So like basically both does the same thing, but in different way. So I would suggest to go with Terraform because it is especially made for that, and it is having more option than CloudFormation. So this was about this video. So whatever questions I have explained, guys, you can explore on the Google and YouTube, and you can get more information on that, and you can make yourself prepare for interview. So best of luck, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video.